The unknown defender, alien invasion interrupted the Iran-Israel war. The year was one of fire and fear. The world was divided. Israel and Iran were trading missiles across the Middle East, each strike answered with a louder, deadlier one. Ukraine and Russia were heating each other harshly. Cities shook under air raid sirens. Civilians fled their homes in the dead of night, not knowing if they would wake up to see another dawn. World powers circled the conflict like vultures. Russia armed one side. America and Europe stood behind each other. China, India, and Turkey, each waiting, each calculating what they could gain. For ordinary people, it didn't matter who was right or wrong. What mattered was survival. Children slept in basements, mothers whispered prayers, and fathers waited in long lines for food that would not last. Everyone thought the war could not get worse. That was before the sky itself betrayed us. It began with a whisper. Astronomers at an observatory in Chile saw strange readings in the night sky. Dots of light, faint at first, but moving against the backdrop of the stars. Not satellites. Not meteors. Something else. They reported it up the chain, but governments were too distracted with their own battles. The news was buried under stories of missile strikes, ceasefires, betrayals. But the lights grew brighter. Closer. Within days, military satellites across the globe confirmed the impossible. There were objects, hundreds of them, entering the solar system. And they weren't natural. They were ships. At first, there was disbelief. Governments held emergency meetings. Some said it was a trick, some claimed it was disinformation, and others feared it was a secret human project finally revealed. But then, telescopes caught the first clear images. Ships larger than skyscrapers. Engines glowing like miniature suns. Hulls blacker than night. And they were not slowing down. They were coming straight for Earth. By then, panic had already broken out. Stock markets collapsed. Airports jammed. Cities rioted. But the aliens did not care about human fear. They had already chosen their target. Us. The invasion begins. They struck without warning. Above Tehran, the sky ripped open in a flash of white fire. In seconds, the city's defense grid was ash, its radars silent. An entire district vanished into smoke and rubble. Tel Aviv was next. A column of light swept across the city, cutting steel and concrete like butter. Berlin. Chicago. Shanghai. The pattern was the same. One by one, Earth's greatest cities were carved apart, not by bombs, but by energy beams that no human weapon could match. The first 24 hours were hell. Families fled underground. Soldiers shot at shadows in the sky, knowing their rifles were nothing against starships. The world had thought it was on the edge of a human world war. Now, it faced extinction. Humanity tries to fight back. But even against the impossible, humans did what they had always done. They fought. American carriers steamed into the Atlantic, their decks alive with fighter jets roaring into the sky. Russian submarines surfaced in the Arctic, releasing waves of missiles that glowed like fireflies in the night. Chinese destroyers and Indian frigates, once rivals, now formed fleets together, their guns pointed not at each other but at the stars. Iranian and Israeli fighter pilots, who had once sworn to kill each other, now flew in the same formations, wingtip to wingtip, because they had no other choice. It was humanity's first and only united front. And still, it wasn't enough. The first battles. The alien fleet answered our defiance with silence. No demands. No warnings. Only fire. Over the Atlantic, 200 jets streaked into the night sky, their afterburners blazing as they dove on a single alien cruiser. They fired every missile they had, the sky glittering with flame. But when the smoke cleared, the alien ship was still there. Its shield had swallowed the attack whole. A moment later, the cruiser answered. One beam. Just one. 193 jets fell from the sky in less than a minute. Only 7 limped back to base. Over the Pacific, entire fleets were erased in seconds. Submarines crushed by unseen forces. Destroyers split in half like toys. For every alien ship that fell, and there were few, 10 human warships died in return. The truth became clear: humanity was losing. Collapse of defenses. In bunkers deep underground, commanders stared at screens filled with red. Entire divisions gone. Communications silent. Cities burning. Some whispered about surrender. Others about nuclear retaliation, but what good was that against enemies who lived among the stars? On the ground, soldiers tried to hold the line. Tanks rolled into ruined streets, their cannons firing hopelessly at the sky. Civilians huddled in subway tunnels, clutching radios as they listened to the last desperate broadcasts. The message was always the same. Hold the line. Reinforcements are coming. But there were no reinforcements. Only silence. Only fire. Only the slow, creeping certainty that the human race had reached its end. And then, when hope was gone, when every general had accepted that the next sunrise would be Earth's last, something stirred. At the edge of the moon's shadow, hidden in the darkness where no one had thought to look, a signal appeared. Weak at first. Then stronger. A shape began to emerge, cloaked in shadow. Too large to be human. Too strange to be alien. A ghost in the void. And in that moment, no one knew whether it had come to save us, or to finish what the invaders had started. Earth. Not at humanity. Its cannons thundered, releasing streams of light brighter than the sun, and the beams tore straight through the alien fleet. 1. 2. 3 cruisers erupted in flame. Whole sections of the enemy armada collapsed in seconds. For a heartbeat, the world was silent. Then came the cheers. In bunkers, in trenches, in ruined streets, people screamed with joy. Soldiers slammed their fists on tables, hugging strangers, shouting into radios. It's on our side. It's fighting for us. The impossible had happened. Humanity was not alone. Something had chosen to stand with us. The aliens react. The invaders were stunned. Their perfect advance shattered, their unbroken walls pierced. They scrambled to respond, their fleets twisting, breaking formation to swarm the newcomer. But the mysterious ship was ready. Its shields flared, catching enemy fire and bending it back, reflecting it like glass. Its cannons split into hundreds of smaller bursts, each one striking a different alien fighter, tearing them apart. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens retreated. Not far. Not defeated. But cautious. The predator had found a new predator. Humanity rallies. Across the globe, a spark ignited. Fighter pilots who had been preparing for suicide runs suddenly found themselves covered by the firepower of the unknown ship. Naval commanders barked new orders, rallying their battered fleets to press the attack. On the ground, soldiers cheered as alien bombers fell from the skies, cut apart before they could strike. And in homes, in bunkers, in shelters, civilians wept, not in despair, but in relief. Someone was fighting for them. Someone was giving humanity a chance. But questions remain. And yet, beneath the relief, the fear remained. Who were they? Where had they come from? Why had they stayed hidden until now? The ship offered no answers. No words. No signal. Only the thunder of its weapons, striking again and again into the alien horde. And though humanity cheered, every leader knew the truth: this was not over. The real battle was only beginning. Closing this segment, 20-minute mark. And so the tide shifted. Not by human strength. Not by nuclear fire. But by the sudden arrival of a ghost ship, scarred and ancient, that had chosen, for reasons unknown, to fight for Earth. The aliens regrouped. Humanity rallied. The battle for survival had entered a new chapter. And both sides knew one thing. The war was far from decided. The battle shifts. The aliens had never faced resistance like this. They had crushed world after world, burning civilizations into ash. But Earth was different. For the first time, their advance stalled. Their fleet scattered, confused, firing wildly at the new arrival. And humanity, beaten and broken only hours before, found its second wind. Across every front, sea, land, sky, humans rose to fight again. This time, not as scattered armies of rival nations, but as one species standing together. Israeli and Iranian pilots. Over the Mediterranean, two fighter squadrons streaked through the smoke. One Israeli. One Iranian. Just days earlier, they had sworn to kill each other. Now, they flew in tight formation, watching each other's backs. Alien drones swarmed them, beams slashing across the sky. One Iranian jet was clipped, trailing smoke. An Israeli pilot broke formation, diving in front of him, taking the hit meant for his rival. Go! Finish the run, he shouted over the radio, his voice crackling as his plane spiraled downward. For a moment, silence. Then the Iranian answered, his voice heavy with emotion. Shalom, brother. Together, their missiles found their mark. An alien corvette exploded in fire. Two enemies. Now allies. Bound not by politics, but survival. The unknown ship leads the charge. Above Earth, the mysterious ship carved through the alien lines. Its cannons roared again and again, each blast ripping open a cruiser, each strike forcing the invaders to scatter further. Human commanders adjusted their strategies, using the ship as the anchor of their defense. Wherever it moved, fleets followed. Wherever it struck, humans pressed the attack. It became a rallying point. Not a symbol of any nation. Not a flag. A symbol of survival. On the ground. In the streets of burning cities, the change was just as clear. Civilians hiding in bunkers began to emerge, pointing to the sky as alien bombers fell in pieces. Soldiers who had been moments from surrender lifted their rifles again, charging through rubble to take back the ground. In one ruined hospital in Tel Aviv, doctors worked by flashlight, bandaging wounded soldiers from both sides of the war. Iranian, Israeli, American, Russian, they lay side by side on the floor, no longer enemies, just survivors. Above them, the rumble of the unknown ship's cannons shook the walls, reminding them they were not alone. Alien desperation. But the aliens were far from defeated. They regrouped quickly, circling the unknown ship like wolves around a wounded beast. Beams lanced out, hammering its shields. Explosions rippled across its hull. For the first time, cracks appeared. Armor plates tore away, spinning into space. The mysterious vessel groaned, its lights flickering. Humanity held its breath. Was this savior about to fall? But then, with a thunderous flash, its cannons fired again, twice as strong. Alien ships shattered like glass. The fight was far from over. Moments of humanity. In bunkers across the world, families clung to radios, listening as broadcasters described the battle. In Tehran, a father told his son, "Remember this day. Today, mankind stood together." In Jerusalem, a rabbi and an imam prayed side by side, their voices blending into the same cry, for mercy, for hope, for victory. And in New York, London, Moscow, Mumbai, people poured into the streets, cheering each alien ship that fell. For the first time in centuries, the divisions of race, religion, and politics seemed to vanish. Earth was not fighting as 1,000 nations. Earth was fighting as one. A fragile victory begins to form. The battle raged on. For every alien vessel destroyed, a dozen more swarmed in. For every human victory, 10 more losses followed. But slowly, impossibly, the tide began to turn. Not because humanity was stronger. Not because we were smarter. But because of one ship. One ally. One ghost in the void that had chosen, for reasons unknown, to fight at our side. And in its shadow, humanity learned something. When united, we were not helpless. When united, we were not weak. When united, we had a chance. As the sun rose over a battered earth, alien wreckage littered the skies. Human ships, scarred and burning, still fought, still clawed for survival. And the mysterious vessel, though wounded, still stood unbroken at their side. The aliens howled their fury. Humanity roared its defiance. The war was not won. But for the first time since it began, it was not lost either. Alien fury. The aliens had underestimated Earth once. They would not do it again. Their fleets pulled back, regrouping into tight formations. Energy pulsed along their hulls, glowing brighter, hotter. Then, with a coordinated strike, they unleashed hell. Every beam, every cannon, every missile, every weapon they possessed, aimed not at Earth, not at humanity, but at the mysterious ship. It was the only thing standing between them and victory. And they meant to crush it. The ship under siege. The sky lit up with fire. Dozens of alien beams hammered into the vessel's shields, each one shaking its frame like thunder. Armor peeled away. Plates spun into orbit, glowing red as they burned in Earth's atmosphere. Flames erupted from its flanks. Whole sections of its hull vented into space. For the first time since its arrival, the ghost ship looked mortal. And across the world, humanity trembled. Was this savior about to fall? Humanity defends its defender. But humanity did not stand idle. All units, form up. Protect that ship, came the desperate order from command. And for once, no one disobeyed. Israeli and Iranian pilots broke from their dogfights, diving to cover the vessel. American destroyers pushed forward, their cannons blazing. Russian bombers flew suicide runs, unleashing payloads at point-blank range. Chinese and Indian warships cut through the chaos, sacrificing themselves to block enemy fire. They fought not just for Earth, but for the guardian that had bled for them. If the mysterious ship fell, humanity's last hope would fall with it. Voices in the dark. In the chaos, voices crackled over comms. This is Eagle 2, covering the big one. He's not going down today. This is Falcon Lead, shields are dropping, push forward, now. If we die together. The words came from every language, every accent, every flag. For the first time in history, soldiers from every corner of Earth spoke as one. The unknown ship had given them hope. Now, they gave it their lives. The breaking point. The aliens pressed harder. They circled the vessel like vultures, hammering it without mercy. One of its engines tore free in a blaze of sparks. A cannon fell silent, split in half. And still it fought. Every beam it fired ripped another alien ship apart. Every explosion shook the sky. But the damage was growing. Its lights flickered. Its shields thinned. Humanity screamed at the heavens, "Don't fall. Not yet. Please, not yet." A desperate counterstrike. Then came the moment no one expected. The ship's lights died. Its cannons went silent. For a heartbeat, it looked as though it was finished. The aliens roared forward, victory almost in their grasp. And then, a blinding surge of energy ripped across the vessel's hull. Its entire frame glowed white-hot, like a star being born. And in a single, devastating volley, it fired. The blast tore through the alien lines, obliterating dozens of ships at once. The shockwave rippled across space, shattering formations and sending survivors scattering in panic. Human fleets cheered, their radios filled with deafening cries. "It's still alive. Push them back. For Earth. Human sacrifice." But the victory came at a terrible price. All across the skies, human ships burned. Carriers sank beneath the oceans. Cities cracked under alien bombardment. Pilots dove into impossible battles, never to return. Over the Sinai, an Iranian ace took a fatal hit, but stayed on course, ramming his burning jet into an alien fighter to save his squadron. Above the Atlantic, an American destroyer intercepted a barrage meant for the unknown ship, exploding in silence as it shielded the Guardian. Every loss was felt. Every sacrifice remembered. And yet, humanity fought on. The turning tide. The aliens, once confident and untouchable, were faltering. Their formations crumbled. Their attacks grew desperate, chaotic. And humanity, bloodied and broken, refused to yield. Together with the unknown ship, they pressed forward. Every nation. Every soldier. Every survivor. The war had become more than a fight for Earth. It was a declaration to the universe: humanity would not go quietly into the dark. As the mysterious vessel smoldered in orbit, its cannons still glowing, the alien flagship loomed ahead, a leviathan of steel and fire, the heart of the invasion. The outcome of the war now balances on a knife edge. One last battle remained. One last chance to decide the fate of Earth. And both humanity and their silent guardian knew, this would be the endgame. The flagship appears. The alien flagship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. A fortress the size of a mountain. A shadow that blotted out the stars. Its surface shimmered with energy, its cannons glowing like suns. This was not just a warship, it was the heart of the invasion. Destroy it, and the fleet would fall apart. Fail, and Earth would burn. Every eye turned to the unknown vessel. Every soldier, every commander, every civilian knew, this was the moment. The final battle. The charge begins. The order went out. All units, advance. And humanity obeyed. Russian bombers tore through the sky, unleashing everything they had. American and European warships fired every missile, every shell. Chinese and Indian fighters swarmed in waves, harassing the flagship's defenses. And leading the charge, the mysterious ship, its hull scarred, its lights flickering, yet still unbroken. Together, they plunged into the storm. The final battle. The flagship unleashed its fury. Beams of energy sliced through space, vaporizing entire squadrons. Explosions lit up the skies as human ships shattered one after another. But humanity did not stop. They fought harder, fiercer, screaming into radios, calling out targets, sacrificing themselves to open paths for the mysterious vessel. And the ship answered in kind. Its cannons blazed, carving deep scars into the flagship's armor. Its shields flared, catching blasts that would have annihilated Earth's fleets. Together, humans and their silent ally fought as one, bleeding for each other in the shadow of annihilation. Sacrifice after sacrifice. In orbit above South America, an entire carrier group pushed forward, taking the brunt of enemy fire just long enough for the mysterious ship to line up its cannons. Over the Pacific, Japanese destroyers rammed alien escorts, clearing a path for bombers to dive through. Above Europe, countless pilots never returned from their final runs. Every second, more lives were lost. But every second brought Earth closer to victory. The death blow. The mysterious ship reached striking distance. Its hull burned. Entire sections hung open, venting fire and debris. It looked ready to collapse. And still, its cannons glowed brighter. The alien flagship unleashed its full arsenal, pouring everything into one final strike. The unknown vessel trembled, shields collapsing, armor breaking away. For a heartbeat, it seemed doomed. Then, with a blinding eruption of light, it fired. A beam of unimaginable power tore straight through the alien flagship. Metal screamed. Fire erupted. And in a single, thunderous moment, the Leviathan split apart, detonating in a chain of explosions that lit up the sky like a second sun. The alien fleet faltered, then shattered. Earth had won. The aftermath. The battlefield fell silent. Alien wreckage drifted across the heavens. Human ships, what remained of them, floated in smoke and fire. The world was saved, but at a terrible cost. Millions dead. Cities in ruins. Armies broken. And at the center of it all, the mysterious ship. It hung in orbit, glowing faintly, its cannons silent, its lights dim. Humanity waited for a signal. A message. A word. Anything. But none came. The departure. Slowly, silently, the vessel turned. Its engines flared weakly. And without a word, without an explanation, it cloaked once more, vanishing into the void from which it came. No name. No origin. No reason. Only a ghost in the stars. Earth's savior, and Earth's mystery. In the weeks that followed, nations rebuilt. Enemies who had once sworn eternal hatred now stood side by side, bound by the blood they had shed together. The war between Iran and Israel ended. The war between East and West silenced. For humanity had seen the truth: alone, we are fragile. Together, we are unbreakable. But one question haunted every survivor, every leader, every child who looked up at the night sky. Who were they? Why did they fight for us? And will they return, when the stars bring war again? And so, Earth survived. Not by strength. Not by technology. But by unity, and by the hand of a silent guardian whose name we may never know. This was not the end of the story. This was only the beginning.